Okay, we just created a public repository, and if you haven't watched the last video, you should do that. But basically, I use this method, just appear, new repository, and we have one. So now, this is a public repository. Frankly, it is my first public repository. So I want to see if something happens before I allude to something, but just to let you know. So I have code, so we're not going to follow all this. I'm not going to create a README. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm going to switch over to the command prompt on Windows. Now, you see that you can do this with an app, and nothing wrong with that. But a lot of times, people, if you're new to programming, I think you'll find over time that the command line will serve you well. So I'm going to treat you as even if you're brand new, even if you're using AI to write all your code, I'm going to treat you like a brand new programmer and get you set up to use the command line. So all I'm going to do, I've already got it open on Windows, and all I'm going to do is type mkdir if you're on a Windows machine. You probably know that, but just in case you don't, and that's the title of the YouTube, but I'm just going to do this, and I have a directory now. Okay, so that happens to be my repository name, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to create I want to remind myself about when I did this, so I'm just going to create it in this file. So I have a file that I was totally generated with ChatGPT. So I'm going to create the directory, and I'm going to switch to that directory. CD. If I do a directory, it's totally blank. I just created it, of course. Okay, nothing there. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over. You won't see this on the screen, but I'm going to switch over to save a file in Notepad here, because I had it actually set up in a different directory because I totally wanted to do this completely from scratch. So you won't see me saving it to that location, but that's where it's going. And this just simply says get version .bat will be the file name. Almost there. It said the path doesn't exist, so give me a second here. I know it does, obviously. Alright, took a little bit longer, but I browsed out there. So now, if I do a directory, you should see a file that I just created. There it is. Check get version.bat. You can see very small file. So while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and show you, because I'm obviously coming at this that you don't have get installed. So there's get that actually is the source control itself, and there's GitHub where we're actually sharing our files in this case because it's public, but where you'll normally have a private repository. But I'm just going to show you here. So all you have to do is type this. If you're any question about it, whether you have Git or not. Okay. Now, my version is older, but for everything I'm showing you now, we don't have to update. We don't have to muddy the water by updating it. If you go out there and get it, you'll have it. But it's going to load up a browser. I'll show you where to get Git. But for right now, all we're trying to do is just show you that we have it installed. Okay, it's right here. So if I was running that batch file, it would show me that I'm out of date. Now this is as of May 3rd, 2020. May 3rd, 2025. So this, obviously, if you download this in the future, you may have to update that line to know what the current version is. What are you trying to target? But anyway, that's that. So now I'm going to switch back to lost my window there. Got a bunch of windows open. Okay, so now, again, we're not going to create the get readme, but I'm just going to type this command. So I'm just going to go step by step. Go here, and I'm just going to paste that in. Get init. And then I want to show you this, so it shows it's empty because we don't have a file. That's normal, but I'm just going to show a directory just to show you what now changed. Now, so everything looks like nothing happened, but it did behind the scenes. So I just wanted to show you what visually and what doesn't. So I'm going to go out to run a git command, and I'm going to type status. Okay, and what it's saying is, and by the way, we're going to keep on running different commands because it shows it's on the branch master, and I'll explain that in a moment. A big change, something that happened behind the scenes for folks that have been using Git forever. So, explain that. So we'll keep on running commands, but I wanted to show you what the status looks like each time we run a command. Okay, so again, we already have a file, so I'm not going to add a README file to this. Okay, and then what we're going to do is and this is just a thing that I'm used to. I just call it initial commit instead of whatever. But this is the message. What did we change? Okay. Copy this out. Okay, and I'll show you an example of that in a moment. We'll make some edits and show you that. But anyway, so okay, so here we go. We're going to do what's called a commit. Okay. Okay, and what it's telling you is there is nothing there, and I'll explain that. Had we ran a git add here, with that file being out there, we do this. So I did something out of order here. Let me explain that. So basically it's saying that, hey, there's, you'll see it's red here. Okay. So what you have to do is git add, and we could type in that file name, but I'm going to give you a shortcut that you shouldn't always use, but let me just do this. I'm just, rather than type out that thing or copy and paste, I'm just going to do a get add and a period. And I'll show you that it's changed to green. We'll do a get status here. Okay, so now we have a new file. So we have to do our commit. I'm just using the up arrow. We don't have to type all that from scratch again. Okay, and you see one file changed, 32 insertions. Don't worry about all that. Just, it's only one file. Here we are. So now, so we have that, and we'll go back to the commands here. I wasn't thinking about, oh yeah, I'm so used to using get add, but I wasn't thinking about that we didn't have a file here. We had a file in the directory, but we didn't have anything. So we want to switch. You notice that before it said that it was on the master, and I'll explain that in just a second, but I'm just going to copy that command. And we're going to switch to the main. Okay. So because of, I'm old school, I'll be 60 this summer. But the way I grew up on source control is master, the way I used to be. So now they call it, the default branch is the main instead. So I'm going to switch to there. I'm going to show you any changes that it does my status. Okay, yep, on branch main, nothing to commit. So working tree clean, don't worry about what that means. And then this matches what the repository that I actually sent, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And that tells it where it's actually going to place this, and then, because I'm looking for a very specific thing to happen that I'm curious about, that may not happen because it's a public repository, but I want to see if it happens before I tell you what's going on there. And this push is actually what's sending it to GitHub. Okay, that's exactly what I was hoping would happen. I was curious if it would. Let me read this just to make sure. Yep. So here's where I'm going to end. I'm going to show you an extra step that you have to do. That's kind of, I thought that would happen, but I want to show you something in the next video about why it didn't actually send it. Okay. And this is a false message in my opinion, but I'll explain that in the next video. So this is exactly where I'm going to sit, and I'll explain what's going on. I know it's something that if you don't deal with what I'm about to tell you, it is something that as a security feature, it's just falsely telling you that it doesn't even exist. So see you in the next